Hey guys, my name's Kim and today we're going to be talking about Captain America Civil War. So I have seen it twice so far, so I've got a lot to talk about, and I just wanted to do one big spoiler review video. I didn't want to do a non-spoiler, so what I've decided to do is shoot this video, which will probably be uploaded a week after I actually talk about it, just so the Americans can watch the movie and come back and we can talk about it all together, because most of my viewers are actually American, so I think it makes more sense for me to upload it when it's been seen in America. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I give this film a solid 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. This film was so entertaining from beginning to end and had so much in it to talk about. It was just a fantastic film, a really fantastic film. And though it's hard to not compare it to BVS, I'm not going to compare it to BVS. I did give Batman v Superman like an 8.5 out of 10. Though when I watch this film, I feel like I want to give it a lower rating, but I can't do that because they're two separate things. They're very different from each other, and I don't want to band them together as the same sort of thing, you know? So what I'm gonna do is just put Batman v Superman aside, put it in a box, and let's not talk about it. Let's not compare it. Let's just talk about Captain America Civil War. So Captain America Civil War is obviously based on the same series, Civil War, in the comics. And I think the main question before going in, if you've read Civil War, is it going to be exactly the same storyline as in the comics? And the answer to that is yes and no. There's all these different elements happening. Obviously the MCU cinematic universe is a little different to what's in the comics, so they're going to have to choose things a little bit differently, also so it doesn't get so predictable for people that have actually read the comics. So let's talk about the basic premise. We've had a lot of different Marvel films and we've seen all the destruction that these superheroes are creating. Now, half of the people are saying that it's not their fault, like superheroes have collateral damage, it's just how it is. On the other hand, a lot of people are saying that it's their fault, that all these people are coming and destroying the earth and they're creating all this chaos and destruction that isn't needed. So the government decide they want to take issues into their own hands. The United Nations have created this accord where they want all the superheroes to sign this, which basically means they are under their control. So being under their control means that the United Nations tell them when they can go out and do certain missions, basically how they're seen in public, everything like that. They basically take away their rights and they have to do as they're told. They are controlled by the government. This is what the accord means. So obviously we have two sides of the argument. We have Captain America, who says we cannot be controlled by the government. We've just had this huge thing with Hydra, who's basically taken over a private organization and has their own agenda. So how is this any different to the government? Everyone has their own agenda. So doing this means that they may force us to do things that are against our own beliefs or are not for the greater good, but for their own agendas. So there's a huge big, warning flashlight saying they shouldn't do this. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Tony Stark, Iron Man, who's just been through hell. He's had so much happening and he thinks that they need to be in check. He thinks that they need, an Uncle Sam to sort of tell them what they should and shouldn't do and how they can create less collateral to the people around them. Now, in this type of circumstance where you've got good and bad, it's usually the best idea to go to Captain America, and whatever he says is generally the best moral choice because it's Captain America. So, and you can trust him with that. There are a lot of layers in this film that change his character quite a bit. Generally, whatever he says is the best possible outcome. Though on the other side we do have Tony Stark, and Tony Stark is, yes, he has a huge amount of morals and he's a good person, but his morals are very askewed. He has a different set of morals and they may not always be in the best interest for everyone. He just decides one set way and nothing else will change that. So he's very stubborn. So we have two sides of the spectrum here, and that is what Civil War is about. And obviously we have two sides of the superheroes fighting each other for this main problem. Now, before I start moving in talking about different characters, I want to talk about important aspects of the Civil War storyline, and that is what happens to Captain America at the very end. At the end of Civil War, the Cap loses, but then he gets killed. He is killed in the comics, and I thought, are they going to do this in this film? It's just like, it's like a yes they could and yes they couldn't. It was a 50-50 chance. Obviously, We've now seen the film, and Captain America does not die. It is his own film, so it seems unlikely that he would die in his own film. But if we think about it, I don't want to compare it to Batman v Superman, but we have to. So in Superman, Batman v Superman, Superman died. So, you know, it could be Marvel saying, well, we're putting it in the same year as Batman v Superman, it has to come afterwards. We don't want it to look like we're going down the same story route, even though it did happen in the comics. We should probably leave him alive. So I think there's a lot of different reasons that has happened. Obviously they don't want it to be exactly the same as their competitor, but then, you know, it happened in the comics, so what's gonna happen there? But then again, it is Captain America's own film. You know, is he gonna die in the end? That seems stupid, because if Captain America died, that would mean that Tony would probably kill Bucky, and that would just be the end of that. And no one wants to see that. No one wants to see all these characters dying and never being resurrected, so now I'm just rambling about it. I'm sorry. Basically, that's what I wanted to talk about, that main element wasn't in the story, which I am actually glad that it wasn't in there. It would have had a huge emotional impact, yes, but I think we had enough happening in that story for him not to die. I mean, anyway, let's move on to more points. That really weird scene where Tony Stark was like young with all that weird CGI on his face, that scene made me very uncomfortable, but I think it was like after that scene that I realized that they were definitely going to go down the Bucky Barnes killed Tony Stark's parents as the Winter Soldier. So he had no control over what he was doing, but once that scene was ended, I thought, oh my god, they're definitely going to go down this way. And every single time they went back to those flashbacks, I just went, oh my god, this is going to be horrible. Not horrible in the fact that it's a horrible film, horrible in the fact because we don't want to see Tony Stark finding out this information, because then you know that's going to be the final nail in the coffin between the Cap and Tony. They're just going to hash it out, and there's just going to be carnage and death and feels and sadness and all of that there. So let's talk about the much awaited superhero car park fighting scene, is what everyone's been calling it online. And we're talking about the big superhero fight in the middle of the film. That fight was possibly the best fight I've ever seen in any film, or maybe best superhero fight. And it wasn't just about like the choreography or the fighting per se, it was the way that they put the script and the story into the fight. It was perfect. There was nothing out of place. It was all exactly perfect, which I thought was amazing, because it's so hard to get something, you know, so big, so correct, but they did it. They, you know, they used every single character perfectly, might I add, and it just all flowed really nice. It was very entertaining, it was still emotional, it was still intense, and it was just good to look at on screen. It was nice and visual. It was perfect. It was just the best fight ever. Well done, Russo brothers. That was amazing. Okay, so we talked mostly about the story and the plot and all that kind of stuff. I want to talk about the characters. Let's talk about the characters that have been introduced in this film. We're gonna start with the Black Panther, whose name is T'Challa. I'm not really sure, I'm really bad at trying to pronounce things, so I'm just gonna call him T'Challa. Let's just call him Black Panther, or the Prince. So Black Panther, I didn't know basically anything about Black Panther going into this. I haven't read any Black Panther, and I don't think I've come across him much in the comics, so I didn't really know a lot about him. So I was happy to have his character revealed as a surprise to me. Not Black Panther, but like who Black Panther was. Obviously T'Challa, the Prince, is Black Panther, which I thought was hilarious, because in that one scene where his father gets blown up, and then he says to the Black Widow, you know, I'm definitely gonna go kill him, like, I'm gonna avenge his murder, and then he walks away. I just thought, yeah, okay, well good luck with that, buddy. Okay, because it's the Winter Soldier. And then 10 minutes later when he's revealed and he's like running after Bucky and they're completely holding their own, and then he takes off his mask and he's the Prince, and I was just like, well, okay, I guess you had reason to say that. So that was a really fun reveal for me. I'm really excited about his character. I thought he was amazing. All his fight scenes were amazing, and his storyline was well developed, even though if you think about it, they only gave him a very small amount of development, but it was enough for us to understand him and to go through his emotional pain with him. But it's so hard to rank like the new people in this film. So, I mean, if we're talking about someone like Ant-Man, like he's already had his own film, but I still rank him as a new person in this film because it's like he hasn't been in all of the Avengers films or in other people's crossovers. But if I was gonna rank like characters in this film, it would have to be firstly Spider-Man. I have held back so far talking about Spider-Man. I'm about to go all out in a second, but number 1, Spider-Man. Number 2, Ant-Man, I think, and then Black Panther. Wait, no, then there's Bucky, and I love Sebastian Stan. I think the reason I love the Winter Soldier so much is because he's Sebastian Stan, so I'd have to say number 3 would be Bucky, and then number 4 would be Black Panther. And then I can't be bothered to list everyone else. So those are my top 4 people in this film. I love them. Every time they were on scene, I was just like, cannot look away. So let's quickly talk about Ant-Man because I want to go all out into Spider-Man in a second. So let's just talk about Ant-Man. So if you watched my review on the Ant-Man movie that came out, I absolutely freaking love that film. I love Paul Rudd and I think he did an amazing job as Ant-Man. So when he was in this film, I was like, yes, I just love you so much. And he was really pulling his own weight there. He was amazing. The scene that he just like got big and like started attacking everyone was so freaking cool. But I think the reason that we like Scott Lang so much is because we can identify with him. He's basically like this, he's basically like us, but in this universe, and we're seeing the universe through his eyes because, yes, he's had his own film, but like, he's basically us. Like, he's a fanboy, and he's fanboying about all these different people, so I think that's why it connects so much to Scott. He's just so, you know, relatable in a way that you don't turn into an ant, but you know. Okay, I've put off talking about him for so long because I thought I was just gonna go insane and then this video would be so long, but finally we're gonna talk about Spider-Man. Finally. Oh my god. Oh my god. He was freaking amazing in that. He was the best thing about this film. In fact, I think I rated it 9 out of 10 is because of him, you know. I'm just like, I can't even describe to you what Spider-Man means to me. I should do a video on that later, but Spider-Man, the character of Spider-Man was the reason I got into comics. It was the reason I started liking superheroes. Back when the first Spider-Man film came out that Sam Raimi did, I was obsessed with that film. Me and my brother and my sister, that was the reason we all got into comic books. We just loved Spider-Man, and I have this deep thing in my heart for him. Obviously, I love Superman and he's my favorite, but like, Spider-Man has nestled his way deep into my heartstrings, and I cannot. I just cannot. Without him, I wouldn't be who I am today. So Spider-Man, Tom Holland, the best Spider-Man I have ever seen. The best adaptation I have ever seen in my life. He was like a perfect mix of Tobey Maguire's nerdy awkwardness and a little bit of Andrew Garfield's swagger. You know, he had it both together. He was perfection. And I'm really glad they chose someone that was a lot younger because Spider-Man obviously got bitten when he was a teenager, so, and the fact that he said he's only had his powers for 6 months in this film meant that it was going to be that age. So I just hate it when they get all these 30-year-olds and they make them play teenagers. Like, he looks like a teenager, he looks like Peter Parker, he just looks like a nerdy, sweet little boy, and that is exactly Peter Parker. I just loved him. He was so good. And the way that he played it was amazing, and I think my favorite, all-time favorite part was definitely in that fight scene. He just kicked some ass. He was the best. I loved him. So it was because of this film that I am so freaking excited for the Spider-Man film. I'm pretty sure I said it's coming out in 2017. That's next year, so Homecoming will be next year, which is so freaking crazy, you know? They're finally going to be doing a correct Spider-Man. I'm slightly nervous for his film. Slightly, but the fact that they did him so well in this film gives me so much hope for this reboot. So obviously Spider-Man was absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people are talking about like the weirdness of his suit being like animated. To be honest, I didn't find any problems with it. There was only one scene in that really big fight scene where at the very end, like, he's just lying on the ground, he's like, oh, you know, and his mask is like half off. and then Tony tells him to just stay there or he's gonna call Aunt May, and then Peter stands up and he's just like, no, I've got more to get. No, okay, I'm done. Sort of when he pulls his mask back down, it kind of looked a little weird, like the CGI. I could actually see the CGI then, and it made me feel a bit uncomfortable. But if we think about like Tom Holland, he may not have the correct like muscle structure on his body yet, so it may be why that they CGI'd the suit to have like a little bit more muscle or whatever. We don't know that. So anyway, I didn't find anything particularly bad about the suit. I thought it was really good. I loved that they did the, you know, the original thing with his eyes was amazing. The only thing I was a bit like, about with Spider-Man, it wasn't actually Spider-Man, it was Aunt May. Like, what? Like I understand that, like, the Marvel universe may be like a younger universe that we're trying to get people into it, so like they're gonna make Aunt May a little younger, but I was very uncomfortable with her. I just got this really creepy vibe from Aunt May. It just felt like, I don't know. Obviously we just know her as like an old person, and then I thought, well, is it his mom? No, it can't be his mom. So it's kind of weird. I just felt very strange in that section. Did anyone else feel that? I don't know if it was just me, but I felt weird. There was weirdness there. Okay, gonna stop talking about Spider-Man or we're gonna be here all day. So, conclusion is, I freaking love Spider-Man. Best thing about this. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Zemo in this film, because I have good and bad things about this guy. Obviously, it was good to see a villain that wasn't like a super villain. So we didn't have Ultron or Loki or whatever, but it's Civil War, so it has to be between the two groups of superheroes. So it was really nice to not have a physical, really big bad villain in there, which was nice. But Zemo had a lot of plot holes there. I understood his story and I sympathized with his story, but there was just so many problems there. Like, we got, obviously, yes, we know what he's trying to do. He's trying to get them to fight each other, and then that final nail in the coffin was Tony Stark's parents. Like, when he went to pretend to be the psychiatrist to see Bucky, he was asking about Tony Stark's parents' mission that he got. So that was a focus. It was a main focus because he knew that would be the major trigger that would set off the end for Tony Stark and Captain America, obviously, because the Winter Soldier's like Captain America's best friend. So my question is, what had happened if Tony had gotten like unconscious or whatever in that big battle and he was like in a coma for like a week or two, and then Captain America and Bucky went to this place in, I think it was Siberia, I'm unsure if it was actually Siberia, but they went to this place where all the other super soldiers were. What would Zemo have done then? Because wasn't his whole point to get Tony Stark there so that he could show Tony that, you know, Bucky killed his parents? What if Tony hadn't come? Would he just be like standing there and like talking to them in that little weird like window thing, waiting for Tony? Like, there's actually no reason for him to be there then. So it seems kind of weird. Like he put a huge amount of risk on that, which, okay, I can understand that, but like, there's issues with that. Like, he set up everything so perfectly. It was just that section that was like, wait, this is the final part of your plan, and this is the most flawed part of your plan. Like, everything else setting off the bomb and pretending it was Bucky and all that kind of work set it off. But like, what about the end? What if Iron Man had died? I mean, yeah, okay. Like, if he died, then he'd gotten kind of his wish anyway, hadn't he? But like, there was issues there because it seemed like his main focus was to Tony Stark's parents. He would continually ask about this. So like, yeah. Questions? Okay, last final thing I want to talk about is Vision, Sharon Carter, Crossbones, and Martin Freeman. Okay, so Vision was so creepy in this film. Like, I just felt like there were bugs crawling all over my skin every time I saw him. Yeah, it was funny because the second time I went to see the film, I was with my sister and I said to her, do you think he should be wearing, I don't think he should be wearing clothes. Like, his clothes freak me out. I don't think he should be wearing them. And she looks at me as if like, what? I'm just like, well, no, he shouldn't be naked, but he should like be always wearing that outfit, like his little cape thing, because I just, dressing up like a Harvard professor is just super creepy. Just, there was a lot of creepiness there. And he felt very creepy, so that's the only thing I want to talk about with Vision, is that he like was up on like 1,000 on the creep factor. He like really stepped it up this film. Anyway, Sharon Carter. I really like Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter. I think because I'm so conditioned to her being some sort of agent person from Revenge, I like it, I accept it. We accept it, you know, if you've watched Revenge. You watch it and you think, yes, she's perfect. Maybe people that haven't seen Revenge won't get that sort of vibe, but I really liked her as Sharon Carter. I think them kissing so quickly was not unexpected, but I think it was a little forced. I think it would be better if they played out the sexual tension a little bit more, and then they didn't do that. Would have been a little bit more, you know, concise in their character development. But overall, I like Sharon Carter, and I'm glad that they finally brought Sharon Carter in, and I'm glad it was Emily Van Camp. I approve of that, so I'm glad that that's happened. Crossbones. Okay, I pictured him having more to do in this film, except for him just dying at the beginning. But I mean, okay, obviously the story is going to be different to the comics, so in the comics we know at the end, Crossbones is one of the main people that helped kill Captain America, so it makes sense that he just gets rid of in the beginning. That was a clue to me that Captain America probably won't die this film. I think Crossbones has a lot more to do in the Marvel Universe, so I'm kind of unsure why they killed him at the beginning. I think they always need someone to set off something, yes, but did it have to be Crossbones? That's my question. Was it needed? Lastly, I want to talk about Martin Freeman in this film. This is so random. I thought, okay, but then I figured out that he was playing Ross. Everett K. Ross, who is a main character with Black Panther, right? He's in the Black Panther storyline, so he's actually like a character. It just seemed like the way that he was put in, he was just like, oh, I really want to be in a Captain America film, can you put me in? And then they're like, okay, and they just throw him in and give him a character, but he's actually a character in the MCU. He's like an actual character from the comics, so it's kind of weird, but I mean, cool. It just felt very out of place in this film. I don't know why. I just feel like, you know, he's such a big actor to have such a random role. I think that's it. He's a big actor, and they just give him such a weird, low role. I'm just not sure what happened there, if he asked to be in the film and they were like, well, let's just put him in this role, because what else is he gonna do? What did you guys think about Martin Freeman just being there in the film? So overall, it was a fantastic film. I absolutely loved it. I think one of my favorite parts was, it's gonna be all the Spider-Man parts, obviously, but there was one amazing part in this film where, in that huge, amazing fight sequence in the middle at the airport, and we saw in the trailer with the two sides like running towards each other. When we actually see it in the film, don't you think it's absolutely hilarious that each character from each side go to the person with the same basic skill level? Like who decided that they were gonna run to, if you just look, like the Black Widow goes to Hawkeye, you got Spider-Man with Scarlet Witch, Iron Man with Captain America, Black Panther with Bucky. You know, they're all going for like the same skill level, which I think is pretty funny. Like, it's just like, you could just picture them running, and they're like running, and in their heads they're like, okay, who am I gonna go for? Oh, I don't think I want to fight him. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go for Hawkeye. You know, we're in the same skill level. It's gonna be, you know, I wouldn't have to sweat so much. So I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Like, I didn't hate it. I just thought it was pretty funny in that sequence. It just was really hilarious. But anyway, that is all I want to talk about for this film. I hope you enjoyed this review. I want to talk more about the film, obviously, so leave your comments below. What were your favourite parts? Who were your favourite characters? Just what didn't you like about the film? What did you rate it? Let me know in the comments below. I always love to hear what you guys think. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon. Goodbye.